Okay.
Biblical perspective.
Mucho bueno. El Español.
Okay. Y'all not ready for that.
What was that?
Welcome back to Girls on Fire for Jesus. That's good. Okay.
I was down, but now I'm
Hey, welcome back to episode 2 of the Girls on Fire for Jesus podcast.
Today we are going to be talking about building friendships, but specifically Christian friendships, and what that looks like, including God in the picture.
Yeah. Okay, let's start off with some questions.
Okay. So, the first few questions we're going to talk about are how to start up your friendships. So, number 1, what do you look for in a godly friend? So that can be personally or like what you feel like the Bible tells you about looking for in a godly friend.
I think it depends. It's a little bit different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're looking for a godly friend, you want somebody that's gonna not lead you personally into sin.
Mm-hmm.
Because lots of people have different triggers with sin and different vulnerabilities. So
yeah,
somebody that's not going to lead you into sin, but is going to pull you closer to God and even challenge you to be more Jesus-like.
Yeah. To build off of that, actually, I find that even if you have friends who are more comfortable doing some other things that maybe they're not a sin necessarily, but they trigger something in you that wants to sin, friends, you don't have to necessarily avoid people who do that, but you want to avoid people who don't respect it and won't, stop talking about maybe that subject around you because it's a trigger for you, or to stop listening to that music around you because it's a trigger for you, whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
I looked up some Bible verses just so we can get some biblical perspective on it. Okay.
Biblical perspective.
Okay. Romans 12:10-11, this is in the ESV version, says, "Love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. Do not be slothful in zeal. Be fervent in spirit. Serve the Lord." I don't even know what that means.
Also, what is zeal?
I don't know. I don't like this version. Sorry. Okay, Galatians 6 verse 2 says, "Bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ." And then last one, Philippians 2 verse 4 says, "Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others." So when you're looking, I like that verse because it's like when you're looking for a friendship, the Bible didn't say like don't look at your own interests, but it said not just your own. You want to look out for the other person as well. But yeah, I think those are some pretty standard ways to look for a godly friend. Yeah. Question 2. Okay. How can young women take the first step in forming Christ-centered friendships?
Go to church.
Oh! Y'all not ready for that.
What was that?
Sorry, where were we?
Go to church.
Okay.
Get into some Bible studies.
Yeah.
Get connected.
Okay.
In your church.
So Avril's almost 18. I am 18. But for those of you who are in high school, go to a youth group, please. That was the best thing I ever did for myself. That is actually how I started finding my foundation in Jesus, was because I started going to a youth group. Also, Avril and I used to have a Bible study. We decided this year we're not doing it just for because most of the people aren't coming anymore. We don't have a lot of younger people that we could bring, and then also just busyness and stuff like that. So, but with that being said, connect into a Bible study, like Avril said. Church is a great place to go as well. I think for me personally, I don't connect very well when I'm at church, but if you go to church, they host other events, and that's typically where you'll meet people, whether it's at like a conference or something like that. So you just gotta push
volunteering is
yourself.
also a good way to get
True.
connected, because you then start meeting everyone.
So going to conferences, stuff like that, that's really the best way you can. Also,
Next question.
next question. What role does prayer play when asking God to bring the right friends into your life?
Prayer? Is that what it asks?
Mm-hmm.
Oh!
A huge role.
What role?
Like a big role.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have personal experience?
Honestly, not really, which is really bad, because I should be praying more about, like, what's it called? Community and stuff.
That's true.
But I know you have personal experience.
Yes. I mentioned in our previous one about how I prayed about I didn't mention like friends coming into my life. I mentioned about God removing friend groups from my life. But it's really funny, this one story I have. So I was at youth group, and keep in mind, I started going to this youth group by myself, sitting in the back by myself for about 3 months before I actually met anyone outside of like a leader. So I was in my little grade 11 group or whatever, and I had been praying for community a lot. I was like, Lord, I need friends. I'm so lonely. I go here and I'm like all by myself. And then I had mentioned in the group, I said I really need some friends because they were doing prayer requests. So I asked for that, and I was being bold about it. And then 2 girls came up to me at the end and they said, "Is your name Sarah?" And I was like, "Yes." They were like, "You mentioned you were from Crossfield, blah, 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 blah," because at the time I lived there. And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "We were on a soccer team with you." So this friend of mine, her mom used to be my soccer coach. And I wasn't really close with her on the soccer team, but she literally, I hadn't seen her since we were like 8 years old. Fast forward to when we were 16, 17, they came up to me, her and her other friend that I also played soccer with, and they were like, "Oh my word, like we played on the same soccer team." And then since then we started hanging out, and now she's like one of my closest friends. So prayer does work. It does.
That's kind of crazy.
I know. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you balance being friendly with everyone while still being intentional about who's in your inner circle? I really like that question. Sorry. Do you want to read it? For me, I think that this is actually really hard because a lot of people think that there's so many great Christian people and even non-Christian friends out there, but it is a ton of work to have more than like 3 or 4 really close friends. Like if you're trying to actively pursue a friendship with someone, it is tons of work and so draining to have more than like 4 really personal friends. So the first thing I'm going to say is you don't need to be friends with everyone that close. Now, how do you balance it? I would say I have a select amount of friends that I really only talk to other than a random checkup every now and then when we're in community events. So if I hung out with them at youth group, now that everyone's graduating and stuff, we won't see each other at youth group very much. So I reach out to them every now and then. A few of them I reached out to last week and just ask them how they're doing, just because I care about them, but we're not close enough to really pursue that much of a friendship. I have 3 main close friends, Avril being one of them, and I think that you just need to remember that you don't need to have everyone in your circle, and it's okay to have a certain amount of people, because then you're not a good quality friend either if you're trying to maintain all those friendships. But yeah, do you have any thoughts?
No.
Okay.
Not a thought in my head.
Okay, we'll go into the next kind of like topic. So this one is growing your friendships. What makes a friendship Christian rather than just a regular friendship?
I think the difference between a Christian relationship and a normal relationship
Worldly friendship, yeah.
is that your Christian friendship should be pulling you closer to God and like always challenging you to be closer to God, and like even doing Bible studies together and stuff like that. Like me and her do that. But like worldly friendships are okay, but those ones are more likely to have I don't know how to word this right.
It's not even it's not even that worldly friendships, like all of them crash and burn. It's not that. I've seen lots of friendships that have lasted a long time and they're not Christian. I think that the difference, like Abriel was saying, is Christian friendships are much more intentional on honoring God with that friendship, rather than and I've been in worldly friendships, when those ones are more focused on what is going on in the world, which if you don't know and you're not a Jesus follower, then that makes sense to do that, right? But when you are a Jesus follower, if you're still living like that with your friends, then there needs to be a change in your heart, right?
And I think you just need to be careful about, like, if you're not strong in your faith, then you need to be careful about who you're putting yourself around. Whereas if your faith is very strong, you can be the light to other people in a more worldly relationship.
Facts. I agree with that 100%. That's kind of what I was saying in the previous episode, how I said that I was struggling with my personal faith. So those friends that I had, it's not that there's anything wrong with being friends who have different beliefs than you, but as a Christian, if you aren't grounded in your relationship with Jesus, you are going to fall into whatever they are doing. And so it's not because I didn't care about my friends, none of that. It's just because I personally, mentally, spiritually, I couldn't handle being in that kind of setting. So, but that's good, yeah. Okay, how can you encourage each other in your faith in everyday practical ways?
Something me and Sarah started doing that we really love is Bible plans on the YouVersion app, which is linked in our Instagram bio if you're looking for it. You can do Bible plans and you can do them with your friends, just like in your phone. So those are really helpful.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, I'm going to kind of just like try and show you an example of this just so you can see. Okay, so when you click on, I have find plans, I can search a bunch of plans, or they even have topics in here if you're not entirely sure what you're looking for. This is a plan that Abriel and I are doing. So we really like these plans because they take you through each book in the Bible and they break it down for you. So if you're not understanding that, like lots of people struggle to read their Bible because they can't read it on their own when they're first starting off. These are really handy because they have a devotional on every chapter. So day 1 was chapter 1 and chapter 2 of Psalms, and it takes you through a devotional. So it helps you actually like reflect on what scripture says. Then it takes you through the actual word. I personally like reading out of my like physical Bible, so I'll read that way, but there's nothing wrong with reading it on here either. Psalms 2, and then I talk it over. So this is just a little peek at something that Abriel and I shared. Are we behind in our plan? Yes, 37 missed days. Oh, but it's not as bad as it used to be because we both kind of fell behind. But if I show you,
a fat one,
if I show you my completed plans,
I really like this specific person that made these. What is it called?
So it's called Thomas Road Baptist Church. Now we're not Baptist, but they're really good. I really like them.
Where's one where we have a really juicy conversation?
So we have unity. So it takes you through. Okay, let's just say we went through.
You can rate them?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay, let's go a study in Romans. Okay, so it even like titles what the book is mostly about. So the book of Romans is mostly about justification, is what it says. and then it takes you through each chapter. So talk it over. This is Avriel and I talking about today's study focused on how we can live new life if we choose to, sexual impurity, that kind of stuff. And it just takes you through every chapter, and it's really nice.
I
So
love those.
yeah, anyways, that's a great way to
And it's super easy. Like,
Yeah.
so easy. Like, even if you're not feeling like you're gonna do like a huge amount of Bible reading that day, like some of them only take like 5 minutes, not even.
yeah, my Bible reading today, I read like 3 chapters. It took me like maybe 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that is one really good practical way to do that. What is another way? Oh, we do accountability. So Avriel and I text each other every day. Now, are we perfect? No. We have struggled with this lots where we are on and off, but we always end up coming back to the same thing. We really try to, like, I'll text her, like this morning, I read Psalms, 93, 94, and I text her that so she knows I've read my Bible today, and then she does the same thing. Now, it doesn't say just in, like, Bible reading, so, like, anything. How can you encourage each other in your faith every day? So, what are other ways that we can do that?
I think being honest and calling each other out, not like sugarcoating everything.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
if they're being crazy and doing something not biblical, not naming names, not targeting.
Not targeting,
You do it to me too, but
yeah.
if just like, call each other out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, be loving about it, but
Actually, I wish I remembered. See, I have all these verses in my head, but I don't remember what they are. There is one though that talks about gently. It's basically talks about it's okay to hold each other accountable for things. So, like Avriel was saying, if I see that Avriel is doing something that is causing issues with her character, with her relationship with God, something that God wouldn't want her necessarily doing. Now, you're not God, so it's not your job to change what they think, but it is okay to be like, hey, I noticed this. What do you think about this? And not just going in with the intention of, I'm trying to change the way you think. I'm trying to change the way
and you also
feel
have to
about
be careful because there's also the verse that's like, don't pull the speck out of your brother's eye before you pull the plank out of yours.
Exactly. Exactly. Or righteous judgment. A lot of Christians will use the verse that talks about righteous judgment to actually judge other people when yeah, don't do that. Righteous judgment is not judging other people. Righteous judgment is calling it out in a loving way that's not gonna, and maybe it will offend her, but it's not she's not gonna be like, oh my gosh, what did you do?
Yeah.
How do you make time for friendships in the busyness of school, work, and family life?
Ooh.
It's
hard.
Just kidding.
I don't really know. You just do.
Wow.
Boom.
Mic drop.
I think you just need to remember and keep a good mindset about like school and work and whatever else is going on in your life is temporary things. That's all temporary stuff, but friendships can last forever, a long time, if not forever. So
Yes.
you gotta
You can bring them to heaven with you.
prioritize them. Yeah.
Yes. Also, finding what the purpose of community is. Why do we have friendships? What did God intend that for? That is something that I've been learning. That's something I've been lacking, actually. Not even just like, because like I said, I have 3 really personal friends. I've not been lacking them this year, but I've been lacking like fellowship, being in community with just other Christians who are going to build you up, even if they're not super close personal friends. So in the same way with your personal friends, it's good to remember, why do I have these friends? What can I offer them, and what do they offer for me, and how does that help me in my relationship with the Lord? Yeah.
Amen.
Facts. Okay. Deepening trust and accountability. Ooh, sorry. Ooh. Okay, what does accountability look like between Christian friends? We kind of answered this.
Weird you were talking about
we basically answered this. Just like being honest, but not being rude. Pray. Oh, what I was gonna say is before you say things to your friends, before you try and correct them about something that you think is, pray. Literally pray. Let's be honest. Avriel and I got into a heated argument about a year ago in November.
That was more than a year ago, though. Now
Oh, that
that
was
was
the
2
one
years,
before.
like a year and like almost 2 years.
So
ago.
it wasn't this past winter, it was the one before that. We got into this really heated argument, and the first thing both of us did, even though we were peeved, even though we said some things we shouldn't have, was once we started to see that the conversation escalated, we took a break. She probably initiated that because she's better at doing that than I am.
I don't actually recall.
She was like, okay, I need just some time to think about blah, 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 blah. Then we took a break and we both prayed about it. And we asked God to reveal things to us. And in, like, I don't know your personal process, but in my process of doing that, it actually helped open my mind to what she was feeling in that moment. I was like, oh my gosh, I realize now why that upset her in the way it did. And I think it was kind of similar.
Yeah.
But would you say it was kind of the same for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
God was like, stop!
Enough, you too.
He's like parenting us.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna be so for real right now. Sometimes I wish that like relationships with boys was like how friendships are. Like, because Avriel has seen every worst possible, like the worstest sides of me possible. And she's still here. If you like it, then you should put a ring on. Okay, anyway.
I'll
That's
give you
diabolical.
Ready?
Oh, yay. Okay, wait. Anyway. How do you lovingly correct or challenge a friend when you see them struggling, which we already kind of talked about.
Bro, we're just pro.
I know.
We're just getting through these. What?
How can vulnerability and honesty strengthen a Christ-centered friendship?
Oh.
If we're being honest, I am sometimes overwhelmingly vulnerable, and she is
Not.
the opposite. It's actually really funny how our friendship works because I get in trouble for being so vulnerable because I just, like, not with you, but like just in general. April's not like for being vulnerable, but yeah, that's something that we're very opposite with. But that's okay.
Wait, so what was the original?
How can
does-
vulnerability and honesty strengthen a Christ-centered
Okay,
friendship?
well, honesty, I think that's pretty self-explanatory because if you're not being honest, like, how are you going to build any trust and have an actual, genuine relationship?
Mhm.
But vulnerability, I think it's important because if you're not being vulnerable, like, how is the other person supposed to know how you're feeling and what struggles you're going through?
Mhm.
And it's like, you're just, like, putting walls up.
Yeah. And exactly. It doesn't open the door for building trust either. Vulnerability also opens the door for trust building.
Mhm.
And yeah. One thing I would say, coming from someone who's very vulnerable, is be careful when you're first making friends to not overshare. It's okay to want to be vulnerable and to want to tell people things about yourself, and that helps with building trust. But if you're forcing it too much, it also causes problems. So just be careful with that. Okay. What's the difference between gossip and sharing burdens in a healthy way? Oh! Sorry. This is just
Wow.
a big topic for girls because we all have this built-in gossip button. Like, we're born to gossip. That's what we do. That's just what girls do. Even the
Yeah.
best of us.
Yeah.
Even the best of us.
Even now, sometimes we catch ourselves and we're like, oh,
We're like,
oh, that was not okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even necessarily that we're this is where we have to discern what gossip is. Sometimes it's not even that we're saying anything bad about a person. But if you're overly talking about someone, even if it's not bad, behind their back, on the low is still gossip. You're still, now, it depends though. It depends. That's why you have to pray about it. You got to discern.
Mhm.
If you're going to bring, for the most part, I think when you're saying kind things about other people, that's fine. But if you're sharing a situation about them that they didn't give you permission to share, that is gossip.
Yeah.
Even if you're not like, this person did this wrong. Like, if I was telling her about a situation about one of my friends, but I was telling her all their business, even though they're not in the wrong, that is still gossiping because they didn't give me permission to do that.
Yep.
Another thing is talking about someone else, but bringing them down. So if I'm going to tell Avriel about someone that I met, and my first impressions of them were poor and they weren't a great connection, and I tell her all these things about them, she's immediately not going to like this person either.
I hate that. That's like the thing that drives me most crazy is that because now you have this view of them. So even if you meet them in your head, deep down, subconsciously, you're like, oh, this person was whatever to somebody else, so I don't like them or whatever. And it's like, no.
And you're fighting off what the world tells us, because the world tells us, like, girls, our motto is like, I wouldn't be friends with this person if they're mean to you. Now, I'm not saying that it's right necessarily if someone wronged me for Avriel to go out and be best friends with them and whatever necessarily. But what I'm saying is that if Avriel is going to meet this person, she needs to figure out for herself if this person's going to cause issues, not because of what I said. Because maybe I was in a very vulnerable point in my life and I took something that they said poorly and they didn't mean it that way. Maybe they're not actually a horrible person like we think they are. And even
if they are, we are still called to love.
Yeah,
you don't have to be friends with them, but we are called to love.
Exactly. So, anyways,
so we didn't even answer the question.
Well, we're figuring out what gossip is. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. What's the difference between gossip and sharing burdens in a healthy way? So then, burdens, ranting can be okay when you're talking about yourself. If you start name dropping and again sharing other people's stories, that's when it starts to become gossip. What I like to do is if I want to okay, this is something that Christians do all the time, okay? You cannot give someone a prayer request if you are going to dump that person's entire life to someone else.
Oh.
That is gossip. That is not a prayer request. You're gossiping. That is an excuse to gossip. Christians do that too much, and it's not okay. I'm not saying I haven't been guilty. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that that is something that is a struggle. When we're presenting prayer requests to someone, and if I want someone to pray for Avriel about her situation, I don't mention her name, and I briefly talk about what the problem is, or I try to find an in general topic. So if Avriel is struggling with temptation on some sort of level, I'm not going to tell them what the personal thing is. I'm going to tell them, hey, she's struggling with temptation. End it there. It doesn't need to be she's struggling with temptation with blah, 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 right?
Amen.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry.
So don't use prayer as a
tool.
Yeah.
To gossip.
Yeah.
Slurp. Okay. Okay. Handling challenges. Ooh, these ones are juicy. Juicier than the previous ones. How do you deal with jealousy or comparison in friendships? I feel like this is going to be hard for us to answer because we don't really experience that between each other. At least I don't.
I do. I'm so jealous of you. I'm just kidding. Wow. I feel like we used to when we were, well, I don't know about you, but when we were younger, like before we met Jesus, there was a lot of jealousy going on in our little friend group. That was not good.
Yes. Now, though, if you have a Christian friend, how do you handle that, though?
Yeah.
So a godly friendship, and all of a sudden comparison and jealousy comes up. How do you deal with that? That's like because I don't really deal with that. So that's something. It's a good question.
I think most jealousy always roots from your own insecurity. So I think you need to really root yourself in who you are in Christ. And you also need to take a look at why you're friends with the person, because if you're having jealousy problems,
I feel I know what you're saying. That's why I'm agreeing with you before you're saying it.
I literally can't get the words out today. Oh my gosh. Help!
You're kind of using them. In a sense.
Yes. I think you need to look at why you're friends with them, because you should be friends with people because you love them and because it's good community. And it's not I'm getting something out of it. It should be
And even if you are getting something out of it, pure intentions, my friends.
yeah. And I think
Gabriel's really
I don't
trying
know
to
how
word
to
this
describe
right
it because the Bible talks about how like you shouldn't have a relationship with Jesus based on what you get out of it. That's like a transactional relationship,
Mm-hmm.
not a I don't know what the opposite of that is, but
Preach.
I think you need to make your friendships not transactional. They should be going both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because in relationships, that's just how it works. You do get things out of it, but that's not
The purpose
That's
of
not
it.
the purpose.
No.
So
Yeah, don't
I hope
treat
that
them like a
made
vending
sense.
machine.
Yeah.
Mm.
Beep boop.
Okay, anyway.
Whoa.
That was whatever you paid for coming out of my mouth.
Are you okay?
No. Okay, whoa, that just took an unexpected turn. Okay. What should you do? What should you do when you feel left out, even among Christian friends? Stop feeling left out. I'm joking.
Stop being the victim. Get in.
Okay,
Just kidding.
That's terrible. I still listen to
I don't know because I don't really feel left out ever. So what can I say?
You don't feel left out ever?
Actually, no, that's not true. You just
Oh.
if you're feeling left out, you really have to look at who your friends are.
Yes, or why are you feeling left out? Are these people intentionally leaving you out? Are they doing things? Or is it just like, I'm going to be honest, trios suck. Every time you're in a trio, someone gets more left out than the others. And it's not intentional. I've been in like the healthiest of friendships in a trio, and it still happens regardless. So in that kind of scenario, it's like they're not meaning to do it. You can have a conversation. If I'm being honest, I recently had a friend come up to me and tell me that there was some feelings of feeling left out. And so if your friend comes to you, especially if they come to you being the person who's leaving them out, if they come to you about it and they're like, bro, you're leaving me out and I'm feeling kind of sad, blah, 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 you need to be more intentional when they're around.
Mm-hmm.
For being the person who feels left out, I think you need to pray about it and you need to be brave and talk to your friend about it. Again, comes back to being able to have a confrontation without it being a giant blow up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, that one kind of we already answered. When is it okay to set boundaries or step back from a friendship? Oh,
When is it okay?
yeah.
Wow. Whenever you feel like it's okay. Whoa.
Whoa.
You shouldn't be scared to set boundaries. Everyone's different, so
yeah, actually,
everyone
I would agree
needs
with that.
different boundaries. So if you feel like
You need to
things
put one
are
up.
getting out of hand and you need to put boundaries up, do it.
Yeah.
Pray about it, ask
Yeah.
God, do it.
Or it comes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. If you feel like you're in a friendship where they might be leading you into sin, not necessarily because they're sinning, but because the things that they're doing causes a trigger for you to sin, I think that setting that boundary, hey, could you just not listen to this while I'm around? Or could you just not talk about this while I'm around? It just is it's a personal issue for me. It has nothing to do with you. Something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's always okay, like Gabriel said. Okay, last couple questions and then we'll wrap it up. Friendship and witness. How can friendships be a testimony to others? Ooh. Well, anyways, that one.
How can
Avriel and I, if we're being honest, starting this podcast, we want us to be not even an example, but just something for people to feel like they can relate to. I think the way Avriel encourages me, and when I share that with other people who are struggling with finding friends, I think it's like a oh, there is good people out there. There is girls out there who, or guys, whatever situation you're in, who want to be my friend and who actually care about me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
How can
Okay.
you balance friendships with believers and friendships with non-believers?
I think this is kind of similar to what we were saying before.
Mhm.
But it is important to have, I think, to have friendships with non-believers because you're setting an example. And I think it's also important, if you have friendships with non-believers, to not constantly be nagging about God and church and all this, because that's not how you're going to get your point across to them.
Yeah.
You just need to be a light and be loving and be encouraging, and then maybe they'll see that, they'll be like, this person is really like positive, I wonder why. And then they'll be like, they go to church, they love Jesus.
Yes. You're being like an active testimony in someone else's life when you're doing that.
Mhm.
Again, coming back to what we were talking about, I don't think it's easy to be friends with non-believers if you're not grounded in Christ yourself. Now, if I was friends with the people I was friends with before, I would be totally fine. I would not be having major problems or feeling like I'm falling into sin every time I'm around them, because I'm very much grounded in Jesus now and it just doesn't bother me anymore. Before, though, it was a big problem, right? So also discerning where you're at. If you're kind of like a baby Christian, you're very new to everything, maybe consider waiting that out a bit. But we want to be friends with non-believers because we want people to know the truth about God and the gospel. But like Avril said, you don't want to be preaching to them. Also, to be completely honest, non-believers and people who hear what you want to say about Jesus see it more in your actions than they do in what you're actually talking about. When you're yapping at them about Jesus or your Bible, now, should you be afraid to talk about Jesus in your personal life? No. But you need to resist from like wanting to go into preaching mode.
You are not a Jehovah's Witness.
Yes. You are not God. You're not God. It's not your job to change someone.
No.
What's one way your friendships have helped you grow closer to Christ? Yeah.
Well, our friendship, this is pretty like, I feel like we've talked about this a lot already, but just the fact that we grew up going through the same stages of life, and the same like rebellious stages and the same this and that, and then all of a sudden we were like, oh,
We need Jesus. Yeah, I think
and
so.
then since that, our faith has just like expanded.
Yes. Avril's also pushed me in directions that, like, even though sometimes they feel uncomfortable, there's been times, okay, even hosting Bible study, when I was struggling personally and no one else knew, there were times where I was like, maybe we should just not host this week or whatever. Not because I didn't care about my Bible study friends or anything, but just because I was struggling personally. And there was a lot of times where she was like, no, we're doing it. And so even in that way, it's just like she pushed me to be in community, and then I never regretted it either. And so I think that that's something that's really important, is that push that your friends give you.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. What advice would you give a girl who feels lonely and prays for godly friends?
Okay, I would say don't give up on searching for community and friends. I'd say you need to keep praying about it because God has a plan that you don't know about. And I think you should keep putting yourself out there, even though it's like really scary, especially in this generation. I think we have a lot of us are struggling with like social anxiety, which kind of stops us from maybe making friends or community. But I think you just need to get out of your comfort zone and get out there, get into some Bible study groups if you can, and keep praying.
Yeah, facts. Honestly, I kind of was gonna say the same thing, just like continue to remain faithful to the Lord during the season of loneliness. It sucks and it doesn't mean that it's easy, but when you stand firm in your faith, there is huge amounts of blessings that God will give you, and he already has for you. And if you give up, then you won't be able to receive that blessing, receive that gift if you walk away from it, you know? And then the same thing that Ariel said, just put yourself out there is really hard coming from someone who's done it. It's very difficult and it's uncomfortable, but also at the same time, it gives you so much character growth. It also, for someone who's introverted, it also grows your ability to be able to be around social gatherings, that kind of thing, for longer periods of time. It grows your social battery. And lots of the time when you put yourself out there, it's hard for people to want to be friends with you if they don't know that you need friends.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're hidden in your room, no one's going to know that you're lonely, right? But if you come to church all by yourself, then someone might notice. Remember, everyone's a person though, so that might mean that you have to go consistently for a bit, and then something will start to show up. So just be faithful and just keep praying about it. Yeah. That was creepy. Anyway. Okay. Well, that was the end of our episode. If you have any prayer requests or questions about anything,
please slide into our DMs.
yes, on Instagram. We also have in our bio on YouTube, we also have an email that you guys can message us at, or you can even just comment. That's fine. And hit the subscribe button.
Boom!
And yeah. Anyways, if you guys have any specific like topics you want us to talk about, also let us know on any of those platforms we were just talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay.
It's good all the time. If he ain't, then you lying.